Passage 3. Understanding Jainism. Number 23. According to legend, Mahavira was born to a family ruling in the town of Vaishali, located in the modern state of Bihar. The original question uses a present participle to modify the noun family, but there are times you can effectively turn the participle into an adjective. Let's look at the following examples. Moving the present participle to precede the noun as an adjective returns awkward clauses in numbers 3 and 4 here, which are questions from the last exam. But for numbers 1 and 2, doing so returns perfectly fine phrases, namely, ruling family in the town of Vaishali in number 1, and crying child in the library for number 2. The reason why you can effectively turn present participles into adjectives for numbers 1 and 2 is that both have noun-modifying prepositional phrases that follow the present participle. For instance, in the town of Vaishali modifies the noun family, while in the library in number 2 modifies the noun child. So moving the participle ruling in number 1 and the participle crying in number 2 before the noun gets the noun and the prepositional phrase that modifies it directly next to each other. However, for numbers 3 and 4, moving the participle working and the participle fearing before the nouns women and people does not work because there is no noun modifying prepositional phrase that follows the present participles. For number 5, although there's a prepositional phrase behind the present participle, the prepositional phrase past the van modifies walking, not the noun child, and therefore walking child past the van makes no sense. So in summary, it is not the presence of just any prepositional phrase, but the presence of a noun-modifying prepositional phrase that allows you to effectively turn present participles into adjectives. And that's exactly what we have in this question, as the prepositional phrase in the town of Vaishali is a noun-modifying prepositional phrase for the noun family. The same rules apply to turning past participles into adjectives. As we see in number 6 here, it contains the noun-modifying prepositional phrase in college, so moving rewarded before the noun students works well. On the other hand, for excellence in number 7 modifies rewarded, not the noun students, and therefore moving rewarded before students returns an awkward clause. So just like for present participles, the presence of a noun-modifying prepositional phrase allows past participles to effectively become adjectives. So both past and present participles followed by a noun-modifying prepositional phrase can be turned into noun preceding adjectives. In the case of this question, our noun-modifying prepositional phrase is in the town of Vaishali, so we can turn the present participle into a noun preceding adjective, which is our correct answer, choice B. Choice C is incorrect because a ruled family implies that the family receives the ruled action and therefore is ruled by someone else, not that the family does the ruling themselves. And we know that his family was the one to do the ruling because the next sentence implies that his family was wealthy by saying he abdicated his wealthy life. Choice D is incorrect because ruler is a noun and cannot be used as an adjective. So basically, look to change the noun participle structures into adjective noun structures if there is a noun modifying prepositional phrase following the participle. If there is no prepositional phrase altogether, or there is one, but the preposition doesn't modify the noun, You just have to keep the noun participle structure. So in a nutshell, when the adjective noun structures are possible, they are the preferred structure, which is why choice B is our correct answer. Number 24. At the age of 30, he abdicated his wealthy life and devoted himself to fasting and self-mortification in order to purify his consciousness and discover the meaning of existence. For this diction question, the key words are wealthy life. And we ask ourselves, do you abdicate, renounce, defect, or secede wealthy life? Well, abdicate means to retire or resign from a throne or position, and wealthy life is not a throne or a position. So eliminate choice A. Renounce just generally means to abandon, so that works pretty well, but let's check the other choices as well. Defect means to desert one's country, and wealthy life is not a country. And finally, secede means to withdraw from an organization, and wealthy life is not an organization. Therefore, the correct answer would have to be choice B, renounce. Number 25. Following the example of the teacher, Parshvanatha, he attained enlightenment and spent the rest of his life meditating and teaching a dedicated group of disciples who formed a monastic order following rules he laid down. This is a question on commonly confused words, lie and lay. Lie means to rest horizontally, while lay means to put or set down. And rules are put or set down, they're not rested horizontally. So we can immediately eliminate choices B and D since they use laying, which is the past participle form of the incorrect word lie. Now, we need to use simple past here because the writer generally states that he laid down just to define the rules that a group of disciples formed a monastic order for. And yes, structurally you can use past perfect as well here, had laid, because he laid down the rules before the more recent past event formed. But notice that the writer is not interested in emphasizing the timing of the two past actions. He just generally wants to use simple past to define rules, and in this context, simple past is more appropriate. If had laid were a choice, the answer may be too close to decide, and that's why it's not offered as a choice here. But clearly between simple present, choice A, and simple past, choice C is clearly the correct answer, because simple present implies that he still lays the rules today. Besides, another clue is that the singular form of the verb lays should be used, if anything, even if the tense were correct, which it is not, because he is singular. So it should be he lays, if anything. Now the same exact word lay could also be the past tense of the incorrect word that we just discussed for choices B and D, lie. But in any case, whether choice A is a simple past tense of the incorrect word lie, or the incorrect tense of the correct word lay, it's incorrect either way. Number 26. He never again dwelt in a house, owned property, nor did he ever wear clothing of any sort. This is a question on parallel structure. Let's remove all the non-essential components and read the reduced form. So we reduce the prepositional phrase in a house and the object property. So it reads, he never again dwelt, owned blank, or wore. Choice D fits perfectly here because wore is simple past like every other verb in this list. Choice C, nor wore, also contains the simple past tense verb wore, but nor forms a double negative with never from the earlier part of this sentence here. Therefore, choice D is our correct answer. The statement is trying to say that he never again did these three things, so we just use or, and the never would apply to all three components of this list. So nor in choices A, B, and C are all incorrect. But choices A and B are not even parallel with the other simple past verbs in this list. Number 27. For the sake of cohesion of this paragraph, sentence 7 should be placed. Okay, so if you leave sentence 7 where it is, it's actually very silly. Sentence 6 states that he died of starvation. If you leave sentence 7 to follow sentence 6, you say he never again did these three things after he died? It's like, duh, of course he didn't do those three things because he died. So that makes no sense at all, and it would make most sense to say that he never did these three things after he abandoned his wealthy life, which is the content of sentence 4, and so choice D is our correct answer. Number 28 now. The ancient belief system of the Jains rests on a concrete understanding of the working of karma, its effects on the living soul, and the conditions for extinguishing action and the soul's release. This is a question on commonly confused words, effects and effects. There is parallel structure in this list, and because the first and third components of the list are nouns, our second middle component must be a noun also, but unfortunately that only helps us to eliminate choice D. So I decided to categorize this question as commonly confused words. Now, effects is the appropriate word here because karma by definition is the principle of cause and effect, where intent and actions cause effects on future events. So choice A is correct as is. Now, if you didn't know what karma is, the next sentence depicts for you how close the relationship between the working of karma and the living soul is. It says, according to the Jain view, the soul combines with non-living matter and accumulates particles of matter. So the specificity of the detail given in this next sentence shows that the workings of karma have direct, specific effects on the soul, not just influences that effects imply. And by the way, choice D is a comma splice because it effects is an independent clause with the pronoun it and the verb effects. Okay, going on to number 29. According to the Jain view, the soul is a living substance that combines with various kinds of non-living matter and through action accumulate particles of matter that adhere to it and determine its fate. This question tests you on parallel structure as well as subject-verb agreement, but I will categorize it as parallel structure because subject-verb agreement only helps to eliminate one choice. So let's solve this question with parallel structure. The underlined portion must be parallel with combines because once we reduce the prepositional phrase with various kinds and the other prepositional phrase of non-living matter, we can see that the two verbs appear across the conjunction and. Soul is a living substance that combines and through action accumulates particles. Since the same singular subject combines and accumulates, we need a singular present tense verb like combines in the underlined portion, which is choice B, accumulates. Number 30. The ultimate Jain discipline, therefore, rests on complete inactivity and absolute non-violence against any living beings. This is the occasional reverse diction question that asks you to select a contextual definition of the underlined word rather than selecting an appropriate word. In this context, the discipline that involves complete inactivity, absolute nonviolence, wearing face masks, and restricting diets is best described as training processes, but the bigger clue is moral improvement. You ask yourself, are Jains doing these things because they are not obedient, have undesirable behaviors, need to learn, or seek moral improvement? They are trying to improve their morals. The earlier parts of this paragraph mentioned that Jains believe the soul's fate is determined by karma according to the consequences of their actions, and it's this belief that propels them to improve their morals. Therefore, choice D is our correct answer. Number 31. How should the underlined portions be rewritten? Some Jain monks and nuns wear face masks to avoid accidentally inhaling small organisms, and all practicing believers try to remain vegetarians by extreme renunciation, including the refusal of all food, lies at the heart of a discipline. Choice A is incorrect because it incorrectly implies that vegetarians are involved in extreme renunciation, which is absolutely incorrect. Extreme renunciation is a much different level of abstinence, one that includes the refusal of all food, not just meats. So vegetarians do not participate in it as choice A implies. Choice C incorrectly has a dependent clause, extreme renunciation, on the left side of a coordinating fanboys conjunction, and choice D is a comma splice because we need a conjunction before extreme, which starts another independent clause. Also, although adding a conjunction before extreme would make choice D structurally correct, the thoughts should be separated to two sentences because the left side of the underlined portion talks about abstinence and the right side talks about extreme renunciation, which is very different and is a much higher and exaggerated degree of abstinence. So our correct answer is choice B. It splits the thoughts into two sentences with respect to the drastically different abstinence and extreme renunciation, and also correctly places a non-restrictive present participle phrase, including the refusal of all food, to modify extreme renunciation. And we know it is non-restrictive, not only because the phrase is wrapped by commas, but also because the sentence makes sense without it. Let's check by reducing it temporarily. And now, the reduced form reads, extreme renunciation lies at the heart of a discipline that purges the mind and body. And although this question involves comma splices and conjunctions, I'm going to categorize this question as a content question because recognizing that extreme renunciation is a very different degree of abstinence that vegetarians do not participate in helps to eliminate two choices, namely choices A and D, as they don't separate the statements. But this question does also test you on comma splice and coordinating conjunction usage of and, but they only eliminate one choice each. Number 32 now. Now I'm going to read this sentence with the correct answer for number 31 inserted into the underlined portion. Extreme renunciation lies at the heart of a discipline that purges the mind and body of all desires and actions, and, as it processes it, burns off the consequences of actions performed in the past. This is a logic question, and you have to realize that extreme renunciation is a process, and therefore a process cannot process itself. Choice A implies extreme renunciation processes itself by saying it processes it. So I'm not even going to check to see if choice A is structurally correct because the non-restrictive phrase here is illogical to begin with. Now choice B has the same structure as choice A, but we can move on to checking its structure because the non-restrictive phrase here in the process is logical. So let's insert choice B and reduce the sentence to check the structure. Reduce the non-restrictive phrase, including the refusal of all food. The prepositional phrases at the heart and of a discipline. The dependent clause that purges the mind and body. The prepositional phrase of all desires and actions. And finally, the non-restrictive phrase, which we just checked for logic in the process. Now the reduced form reads, extreme renunciation lies and burns off the consequences of actions. It makes sense that extreme renunciation burns off the consequences of actions, because this is exactly why the Jains are doing these disciplinary practices to purify their soul. So choice B looks like a good answer, but let's go on to check the rest. Choice C with the process of being is very wordy and awkward, so we eliminate that. And choice D says that processing this burns off the consequences. First of all, it is vague what antecedent this refers to, but it seems logically likely that this refers to extreme renunciation. However, even with this assumption, there is no clear difference between processing extreme renunciation and extreme renunciation itself. There is no need to reword a subject that more or less says the same thing. And therefore, we can eliminate choice D, and choice B is our correct answer. And the last question for this passage, number 33. Which choice most effectively establishes the main topic of the paragraph? Okay, so let's go through the choices. Karma in choice A and nirvana in choice D are just parts of the paragraph's discussion, as they are not discussed throughout the paragraph. The history of Jainism in choice B is actually the main topic of the first paragraph, not this one. So we can eliminate B. This paragraph starts out by providing you with the basis of Jain beliefs that drive Jain disciplinary practices by connecting karma and the consequences of actions as things that affect how the soul combines with and accumulates matter. These beliefs inspire Jain believers to purify bad accumulations of matter through a variety of disciplinary practices, namely complete inactivity, absolute nonviolence, wearing face masks, becoming vegetarians, and enduring extreme renunciation, including the refusal of all food. So the paragraph must be about Jain religious beliefs and practices. Choice C.